Roots 101 Deeply Rooted. From the vibrant and storied heart of America, brought to you by the Roots 101 African American Museum. This is the Deeply Rooted Podcast, where we pay homage to the unsung heroes, the pillars of our community, the inventors, the artists, the activists, and our ancestors by highlighting Black excellence of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Your guide on this journey, none other than the passionate and insightful Lamont Collins, a visionary, a mentor, a scholar, and most importantly, a griot of African American history and culture. So sit back, tune in, and let's dive deep into the rich soil as we get deeply rooted.
Hey everybody, Lamont Collins, Roots 101, African American Museum. We're Deeply Rooted, and today I got one of the, how can I say this? One of the most important people to the vision of Roots 101. That's Troy Bell, our creative director, and he does our Sankofa experience. Troy, welcome to Deeply Rooted.
Once I'm happy to be here.
Second time, right?
Second time, that's
Yeah.
right.
All right,
That's
cool.
right. That's right.
Well, tell people about who you are and what we do here at Roots 101 from the musical standpoint.
So, a 14-year-old girl named Niecy Bell, that was only because her father couldn't say her birth name, which was Dervina, gave birth to this.
See, first, man, I thought you was doing an alter ego.
Yeah, Mary was 14, or
Okay.
so they say,
Okay.
I've just made the comparison because, great thing, we're so big on child pregnancy and everything, but yet we don't do anything to kill the vicious cycle, but some great things have come from some very great babies, great babies have come from great babies. How about that?
Okay.
I am probably fortunate, terribly blessed to be one of the ones that God has chosen to give a piece of every element of the arts. I probably can do something that represents every element of the performing arts.
And you don't say that to be
I don't.
boasters. You say that
I'm not
from a
trying to
humble
boast.
spirit.
I don't say that to be I'm saying that from a very blessed place.
That's right.
Because now when I look back on on my peer group who had personal trainers and were privy to voice lessons or piano lessons, and I didn't get none of that stuff. I didn't do none. So no, I'm humbled by it. I'm terribly blessed by it, and I am. I'm very grateful to be one of the examples of the scripture in Proverbs that talks about your gifts will make room for you, because that's why we're here.
Right. And then we talk about your gifts. Now, you did get formal training in high school and then theater and all
In
that.
dance.
Explain that.
In dance. So,
Talk about that journey.
When I got to the 7th grade, from daycare to 7th grade, it was straight A's and B's for me. But my mother noticed that my grades dropped when I made it to middle school. And it had everything to do with public school. It was just not, there was nothing that attracted me that made, there was no life for me in public school. And because she worked at the Re-Ed school at the time, which is a school for emotionally disturbed children, she was connected to people that knew of this new performing arts school. Long story short, she got me an audition. It's a high school, but they make exceptions for exceptionally talented children. So they let me start there in the 7th grade. And from there, I was afforded opportunities from everything of national, what is that? NBC network did a national talent search when they was looking for the Cosby Kids.
Yeah, Theo, right?
And Theo, I auditioned for the role of Theo before I even knew what I was auditioning for. So you name it. The whole time through that school, being afforded opportunities to be a charter member of their very first European tour show company got me got me my first feeling of what it felt like to be away from home. The first time I was on a plane, I went, 18 hours over the water. So there were a lot of things that a lot of artists get to experience later in life that came early for
Right,
me.
right.
And I realize now that the Lord needed me to touch those things early because he needed me to have a head start on some
Yeah, and
things.
I also remember that you're a dancer,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember seeing a picture. Or you
Oh,
was it
gosh.
Juilliard School where you
Yes.
danced?
So, right after my time at the Performing Arts School here, Arthur Mitchell and the Dance Theater of Harlem came here to perform, and he needed some extras. Well, of course, took one look at me and said, "Oh, he's too short, but we need extras. Come on in here anyway." And that led to him being able to see me dance. He said, "Oh, come on." And here I am, a 18-year-old kid from the Derby City in New York City with the Dance Theater of Harlem. Yeah, so I mean, it's been a wonderful life. And the joy in the life is that it's not over.
That's right. And I think, when I talk to you, I think people don't realize here at Roots, it's like a family. I call it our
Oh,
house. And
our-
how many times we can go in my office and we talk about everything about life, and we talk about our accountability to the community from what we're doing here at
and
Roots.
even the conversation turns into the conversation of things that are happening today. We just watch in our conversation how we bloom and come to our next thing.
That's right.
All from talking.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
from talking,
yeah.
we come to that's the next place. That's the next thing.
Yeah,
That's we need to do it.
It's just
It's
a connection.
absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, people
And that
think it's
only
scripted.
happens with family. You're exactly
Yeah,
right.
because it's not like it's ever scripted. We can sit in a
Exactly.
room and say, let's add this song. And let me explain Sankofa if you've never been to Roots 101. When I started the museum, I called Troy and said, Troy, white America always let us sing to them or entertain them, but never educate them. I want to do something that's going to sing and educate America, but I don't want a minstrel show.
Right.
And I don't want, here in Kentucky, we had a thing called Stephen Foster.
Yeah.
And Stephen Foster was this big minstrel show away. It used to be during slavery times in Kentucky. And I hated that as a child. Went one time, would never go back. Matter of fact, I left and went and sit in the school bus. And they wondered what I was doing. I was like in the seventh grade,
That
sixth
ain't our
grade,
story.
because it wasn't our story. And I knew it wasn't our story. But
Right.
you remember how they used to fill up the place in Frankfurt, I think it was, right?
And they
Lexington.
still do that. That story still goes on today.
Stephen Foster.
Right.
So I knew we didn't want that. I knew I wanted something for our community where we could be proud of our story and our journey. And I think the cool thing about Sankofa is that you go through an emotional journey,
Ah,
right? And I always say,
exactly.
white America wants our rhythm, but not our blues. And when I started saying that, I kept coming back to, what else can we do? What else can we do? But we're determined to give the rhythm of our history, but we also want them to know the blues of our struggle.
And I think, no, I don't think. I know the reason why Sankofa here is as successful as it is because we have embraced education plus entertainment equals edutainment. And I think we do that par excellence. I don't think there is anybody anywhere near or far that comes anywhere close to what we do here. Why? Because since music is the universal language, then it is smart of us to tell our story through music. I don't care what color you are, white, black, Asian, whatever. It is, oh, I thought it was me. You can't deny music. Every culture, every ethnic group, every race appreciates music, hears music, listens to music. So when we tell our story through song, you can't help but to be moved.
No, you can't.
You can't help but to be moved.
Yeah, and that's, for instance, if you haven't seen it, I would narrate a part of history to walk you through the story. Then they would come out and sing through the story. But the cool thing about it is I keep saying, it's the rhythm of our story. It's not the weakness of slavery, but it's the strength it took to come through.
And we celebrate it.
The strength, yes.
Yes, yeah. That's the wonderful thing. We're not walking around with our heads back. The thing is that just like white people weren't, everybody that's full of life today, none of us were here to enslave the black people or be masters to.
Mhm.
We are
Mhm.
what's left or what's become
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, I
And
remember
for
that.
us to be able to tell our story, even to white faces, and see the difference, it's a whole noticeable difference in the cultures.
Mhm.
When we tell the story and the audience is predominantly white, we see tears and we see a whole different thing than what we see when we're performing to our own.
That's right.
When we our own, they smiling and they grooving and they because it's relative music, so they get it.
Mhm.
So I mean,
I think the last episode we had a predominantly white school in here,
Mm.
and we started saying a song. I don't remember, was it Byron was doing "Lovely Day" maybe,
lovely day,
and I was
lovely
saying
day.
Barack Obama today. Anyway, he was doing it. He has such a rhythm to what he's doing, and I started clapping. And when I started clapping, this predominantly white group
They
could
started
not.
clapping
They
too,
clapped too, but they were
with
I
no
called out
regard for the beat.
no
No
beat,
regard
no
for the beat.
no beat. And
I mean, they were all over the place to the point that it even threw him off.
it threw them off. But the cool thing when it was over, they could laugh at themselves
Oh
by not
yes.
having the rhythm,
Oh
and
yes.
they could understand the rhythm of our movement.
Yes.
And it's first time these kids ever realized how much rhythm was part of who we were.
Exactly.
So it was a cool experience whatsoever,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Roots and what we plan on doing. We're trying to do the Buy the Block campaign, which we're real close to making that happen, where we'll
Yep.
buy the back of the building and have this whole block. Now, if Troy could have what Troy wanted and his vision with our vision combined, what's the next level would you like to see us go to?
Well, based on the last conversation that we had, that conversation led us to seeing the Sankofa being in its own book and walking our story, walking out of this book singing our song. So if I could have my way in a perfect world right now, it would be the Sankofa experience of all Sankofa experiences. It would be an open book. The set would be an open book. It would be one big book, and as Lamont is telling our story, the Sankofa players are singing our story, walking right out of the book until, well, the joy of the end of the Sankofa experience is that it's to be continued.
Mm.
There would never be an end
Mhm.
or a reason to close the book. We have nothing to be ashamed of. Uh, there's no reason for us not to be an open book.
That's right.
So
And because we're open book, we need to deal with everything in our community. And one thing
because if we don't deal with it,
Mm.
it deals with us.
that's right,
You know.
because we can see the trauma. When I have these 400-year-old chains and I put them on students, you can feel the trauma. We can feel our
And
trauma
only
today.
in just the weight.
Just the
And
way
so
along.
much more to it comes with that. But initially, you feel the weight as soon as you put those chains on, and that alone demands all of your attention.
Yes, and young people get it for the first
Oh
time.
my gosh.
Culture returns history.
Yes.
So many times I think young people see cultural moment in time as their history. No, the history is the history. The culture is just time and place in history.
Mm.
And I think we've able to do that. As we go through and what we continue to do at Roots and continue to grow, let me ask you this. You coming from the church background, you do a lot at the churches and perform. Am I wrong, or is there a spirituality that comes over this place when people are here?
There is. It's almost like the spirit sits here
It does.
waiting for the people. You come in, and I promise you, I guarantee you, you walk out the door a changed person.
I keep saying that.
It's like the spirit just calmly sits there and waits.
It's like the ancestors are waiting for us to come
And
home. Am I right or wrong?
It is amazing.
It's nothing like
and it happens with every ethnic group. It don't just happen with us as African Americans and Black people. I see the change in everybody. Now, whether or not they stay changed once they get outside the door or not, but I see it in here. I don't care what we
Yeah.
do. white people leave out of here are brighter people. I
They do. They
swear,
do.
I swear they do.
And our black people leave out educated
Oh my
because our
gosh.
story's never been told
And celebrate it.
and celebrated.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. But I know I keep saying it, but people don't get how moving it is here.
It is.
I mean, I've had people come from Scotland. We've had them from all over the world, right? And they come here and actually cannot believe what they see at Roots 101.
And I'm gonna tell you something else. The movement is not just in the audience.
Mm.
Even the Sankofa players themselves. There have been student tours, and I've gotten caught up singing "You Raise Me Up" in front of students and try to pull them back because I don't want to have to go through, trying to make them explain why this grown man with this white beard is crying singing this Josh Groban song, But I mean, it happens,
So I remember when that happened. I remember I
Oh.
said, Troy, I want you to sing this song, You Raise Me Up.
Oh my
And I
God.
said, I want you to do it from a teacher's perspective.
And that's what did
I
it.
said, do it from,
That's what
because we
did
were
it.
talking to teachers. And when you did that, you just,
I could see all
you
of my
could see-
teachers.
Yeah.
And my eyes before I'm getting full of fill up just talking
Yeah.
about it now.
And you said it. When you came off, you said, Mark, I saw all my teachers.
Oh, I saw him.
Everyone.
I saw him.
Yeah.
I saw him.
And you sung the song like you never sung it before either.
That's what the Spirit does.
Mm.
When people talk about out of body experiences, that ain't nothing but the Spirit meeting you, and it makes you do things that even make you marvel, And that's what I love here. I love seeing people when they have the aha moment, because everybody gets it,
Yeah.
and being able to look in their faces right when they get it, and you are blessed because you see them get it. Oh man, you just can't. You can't buy that.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't buy that.
And I always say that, I've been in a lot of businesses, but when I started this, or when God started this, it became so purpose driven.
I'm so
And-
glad
and
that you said that because that's how I always like to introduce you at the end of every Sankofa experience. You really are the one that God chose, specifically chose to hold accountable
Yeah.
for the vision.
And you said
That
that. And I remember you said that the first day you said it.
Yeah,
I went home and I know I cried. 'Cause I
of
cried. in a minute.
course,
But what I cried was,
that it was the truth.
it was the truth, and the accountability will always. I go back and forth. Troy, I want to do this. I don't like that. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I am accountable. But I'm accountable in a whole. People can't realize it's not about the building. Right now, I would do this
You're
on the
exactly
street
right.
if it came to on
I
the street
promise you.
because I know we're on the right
I
plan.
promise you. I
So-
promise you.
So that's been
And
awakening for me.
sometimes the biggest blessings come from those things that we're scared to do,
Mhm.
those things that we don't want to do. For what. Sometimes we don't want to do stuff because we fear the resource without understanding that God provides.
Faith over finance.
Hey,
I always say faith
I
over
promise
finance.
you.
And I truly believe
promise
that
you.
because it's been times,
Yeah.
that I didn't know what was going to happen the next day
Or how it
or
was
how
going
it's
to
going to happen. And all of a sudden, some little person comes in and writes a check.
It's a big one.
Yeah. And to this point, it's really been, and I always say this, the greatest thing that I realized, there are some white people that want to do the right thing. They don't want to write a check out of guilt, but they want to write a check in order to help bring this country to another level.
Right.
And honestly, the 3 times that I was at my lowest, there was 3 white people that walked through that door to make sure it went through.
Right. One of the biggest things that people need to understand is that being black doesn't mean that we're against white.
Mm-mm.
That is not.
Yeah.
I wear a white beard
Mhm.
proudly.
Mhm.
We love white people. We want white people to love us back. We want everything that breathes the same air that we breathe to realize that we're all one and the
That's right, that's
same.
right. But I think we get so caught up in color, even though we're raised up to see color. We see colors in order to drive and pass the driver's
Mhm.
test. Colors in school,
Mhm.
green, gold, red.
Mhm.
We learn colors from the time we're
Mhm.
babies,
Mhm.
and we pass school because we know colors. But when we get older, all of a sudden we want people to say color doesn't matter, and we know color matters.
It always
It
matters.
always matters.
Always matters, and it's always gonna matter.
Yeah. So, but it's the content. What we try to do is make sure people understand the content of the people
Exactly.
and not the color of the people.
Exactly.
But the story of our struggle is a real story.
Right.
The trauma in our community is a real trauma. But until our kids can get that story, because when they get that story, I always talk about in the Jewish community, they teach their kids at the time they're 3 years old, their history.
Exactly.
And then they tell their kids never forget and never again. What have our kids have ever heard never again and never forget? We're not even told our story. So just going from that perspective, that's what we do. And when kids walk out of here, they walk different and talk different because they understand the greatness they come from.
Exactly.
And we don't get that,
Exactly.
but you get it here.
Yeah.
You know, I know churches put up posters on during Black History Month. We're telling a story 365 days a year.
Because it's ongoing. It's to be
Yes.
continued. It's
Yeah.
an ongoing. It's an ongoing story, and because we are the open book entity, you know, it's what we have to do.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, really, I know
we're not just putting up a calendar in February
Yeah.
for 28 days.
And
you know,
I think people don't realize, and I know we're talking how important it is that we're doing. We feel it.
right.
We ain't making it up. We know the difference that we're making, and we want people to come down and see that difference in what we're doing.
Please.
And it will amaze you.
Please.
You know,
Yeah.
there's what it's amazing in His sight.
Yep.
When you take that scripture and say it's amazing, it is amazing in His sight when you come and see the history and the artifacts of what we created when we were kings and queens before we were enslaved in America.
I am so excited about how we tailor make each Sankofa experience to whatever audience we
Yes.
have. If it's an audience of school teachers, then we show them educative background through our story and our music. If it's students, whoever the audience is who we detail the African American artists or advocates or activists or whoever we show
Yeah.
has everything to do with what audience is there, which means that every Sankofa experience is
Different.
its own thing. It's
Yeah,
different.
it's different.
And it's a wonder because even the players themselves leave here on the exhale. You know, there's nothing like being able to exhale at the end of a project, because that means the breath of it all means that there's life at the end of the tunnel. You know, and
I agree.
Oh
I
my
agree.
gosh.
And like I said, I don't know if we've really been helping people, but I know we're helping ourselves.
Oh yeah.
Talking about what we know we bring to the table, because it's just a marvel. It really is. And now tourists come from here from everywhere. I know for a fact, just from statistics, when Black people come to this city and they ask for Black experiences, Roots has become number one in this community. Not what
That's
everybody
evident.
thinks.
That's evident.
Roots is the experience they want, because Roots is a Black experience for Black people.
I'm amazed at Black people that strategically get hotel rooms right around
They're doing that now.
because so they could walk over here.
Yes, they have.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's the best kept secret.
Oh.
And I think it's something
And
we have to keep
I
telling.
think that is something that I long for, the day that I know it's not a secret
That's
anymore.
right. And that's what that's
Yeah.
what I want to get to,
Yeah.
and not depend on other people to tell our stories here,
Exactly.
but for us to tell our story that we hear. And I think when we get to that point, even think more
Mhm.
things we can do, because I know you know, like I know, there's so much more we want to do
Yes.
inside and
Yes.
out. And when we got to
Yes.
travel to different places, I think we went to Baltimore.
Yes.
That experience in front of the National Teachers Association.
was wonderful.
How many teachers came to us and said what a difference we made? And how many teachers still come here? Every national convention of Black teachers or educators
has
come
come or is coming?
here. Yes, AME church,
Yeah,
church, you name it, it's
exactly.
coming.
Exactly.
So we know we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Troy, as a professional at what you do, and now that we have your guidance and your talent here, what else do you see that we can do, or you would love to see us do?
I would love to see us. So we're not the only museum in the city.
That's right.
I would love for us to be able to show the other museums in the city the contribution that we made for them to be able to be who they are, for them to be able to have their doors open.
Yeah. But see, that's a cultural phenomenon, but we're
But
working on that.
But it's the truth, though.
It's the truth.
You know, every museum in this city, there was an African American contribution. There is a Black contribution that is the reason why the doors open, the reason why they even exist.
That's right.
You know,
So many ways.
and I'm not so sure that every museum knows that.
Well, I don't know, but I know it's our responsibility to
It
let
is.
them know that, and
Yeah.
then if we put our story and our history, this country moves better together than separate.
Exactly.
And I think as we keep showcasing what we do,
Right.
the more people will come to our door and say, okay. See, first I didn't think you'd make it, right? So the connection was we don't want to be connected to anything that doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Now we're 4 years in, national recognition. Ooh, they made it.
Right.
Now that to sit at their board of directors and say, hey, how can we relate, or how can we do things with the museum, outside our museum, and feel like we don't lose our museum?
Exactly.
And that we're a serious threat to the stories being told because we're
Of
not
course.
telling it 28 days.
Of course.
See, we put the pressure on our stories worthy every day. And when you start putting that story, those that said their story is worthy every day got to find space for your story. And that's a hard mix.
It's a hard mix, but until they're able to embrace and be able to say thank you
Yes.
to us,
Yes. I agree.
it's just one more reason why it's going to be, it's going to take us longer to get to what I really want, which is Museum Fest. There could be a museum festival that could be here that could take the whole country,
Well,
but
don't give it away. See, because I don't have.
it belongs to us. It's us.
You can't give it away now.
It belongs to us.
See, because they got the resources to make it happen tomorrow. We have to raise those resources.
Yeah.
But in closing, this is Lamar Collins, Deeply Rooted. Thank you again, Troy Bell, our creative director, like nobody else, and he holds me accountable, and I will always hold him accountable.
Exactly.
And our legacies matter, and so do you.
Yes.
See you next time.